Hey everyone, Piano Man Chuck here. Today I want to talk about piano actions, in specific two unique piano actions, both by Kawai. One is called the RM3 and the other is the Grand Feel. And these two specific actions are employed in some of their digital pianos. Now, the VPC1, which is the finest piano controller without a doubt in the world, employs the RM3 Action. It is so realistic that you would swear, if I were to blindfold you, that you would be sitting in front of a $150,000 to $200,000 concert grand piano. Now, here is what the RM3 Action looks like. Now, Kawai was kind enough to provide me with an action model so that I can demonstrate this for you. Now, just like on a real acoustic piano, you have wooden key sticks, the longest in the industry for any piano controller to date. And if I turn it this way, you'll see that some of the keys are numbered, just like on a real acoustic grand piano. You have simulated ivory key tops and ebony for the black keys. And just like a seesaw, you have a pivot point over here, and you have some vertical pins to keep these key sticks going straight when you press on them. Now let's get back to that seesaw concept. When you press on a key at one end, just like a seesaw, the other end lifts up, just like on a acoustic grand piano. So when I'm pressing on this lightly, if you look over here, you can see something called let off. Now what let off is, if I press real lightly on a concert grand piano or on this RM3 Action model, I'm going to feel a slight resistance when I get to a certain point, right over here. That's called let off. And if I press a little harder, I get past that to complete my keystroke. But if I'm playing regularly, I don't feel any of that resistance at all. So just like on an acoustic grand piano, you feel that let off when you press very lightly. And you can see that right over here. And over here, you can see that the sensors are over here, and this is triple sensor technology, and there's a circuit board over here. So, and you have the hammers over here, but instead of hitting a string, the sensors are going to convey the MIDI information to whatever is processing the sounds with the piano for that particular unit. So this is really a feat of engineering right here, folks. It's just unreal how good this feels. And when you play into a key, just like on any other digital piano, in fact, on the upright pianos, let me back up a second, because the uprights and the grand pianos have two different action mechanisms altogether. On the upright pianos, the strings are actually vertical. So when you're pressing on a key, it is going to hit a hammer that's going to hit the string like this, because that string is vertical. Okay? On a grand piano, the strings are longer, but they are horizontal. So the hammers over here are coming in from the bottom and hitting that string that's above it. Okay? So that way you have these long keystrokes, or these long key sticks. Now, law of physics over here. Here's the pivot point. The closer you get to that pivot point, the more pressure that you have to exert to get that key to go down. And this is the same on just about any digital piano, as well as the upright pianos as well. So here we go. Easy to press on a key over here. And as we get to pretty much the halfway point of this black key, as you go beyond that, you exert a little bit more pressure to get that key to play. Now, the next higher up action that they have is called the Grand Feel. Now the Grand Feel Action is actually, it's just like the RM3, but it is longer wooden key sticks. It's about 1 inch longer, and the pivot point is moved farther back. And simple law of physics, because it's longer and the pivot point is moved back, you have less exertion of pressure over here the farther you get back to produce that key to go up. So I want to do something over here. Oh, by the way, just like the RM3, wooden key sticks, numbered keys, simulated hammers, sensors, triple sensor technology, and again, if you look over here, you see that simulated let off. When you press ever so lightly, you feel that friction point, that is let off. And when you play regular, you don't feel that at all. Just like on a regular concert grand piano, or any grand piano for that matter. So let me do something over here. If you take the RM3 and you look at the pivot point over here, and let's line that up with the pivot point of the Grand Feel. So now the pivot points are lined up. You'll notice that the Grand Feel comes out about 1 inch longer over here. The pivot points are lined up, so when I'm hitting here and when I'm hitting here, I'm doing the same thing. But the closer I get to those pivot points, the more pressure I have to exert. So over here, when I'm pressing, which is about this point on this key, it's about the same amount of pressure on each one that I need to press. Now, let me show you something over here. I can't possibly convey to you what I'm feeling or how much pressure I need to push on the key to get these to compress the closer I get to the center or that pivot point. So this is a Shure SM57 microphone, the most popular microphone in the world. It's actually been used at some venues as a hammer. It's so rugged, but it weighs about 10 ounces, and I want to show you something over here. If you go to the end of the key right here, it's no effort to depress the key. And the closer you get to that pivot point, the more pressure is going to be needed to push that key down. Now, what's exposed on any keyboard is just up to this point right here. So if I go right all the way to the end, you'll see that the key goes down just a little bit, ever so slightly. And I'm not holding this at all, I'm just trying to keep it from falling. And you'll see it goes down ever so slightly when I hit all the way into the key. On the Grand Feel, the closer I get to that pivot point, because it's so long, I get to that last point, it's almost effortless, but there's really not that much difference in the feel between the two. If you look again at the RM3, it does go down ever so slightly. Ever so slightly. And again, when you get to the Grand Feel, no effort at all. Now, most people, when they play the piano, and we're talking about the majority of pianists, they're going to play, if you take half of that black note, divide it in half, your fingers are going to be before that halfway point on either of these, on any digital piano. Okay, so we come back to this action again, to the RM3. And again, there's not that much pressure that's needed at the end of the key stick to get that note to go down. Unlike most of the other digital pianos out there, this is real easy. It's just like any other concert grand piano out there. It is a piece of cake to play, and it feels so good. I never thought I could feel that in any kind of a digital piano. Then the Grand Feel came out, and even though it's almost unnoticeable, there is a difference between these two. So if you're one of the type of pianists, a classical pianist or a jazz pianist, or somebody else that likes to play into the keys, I mean, this is how much of the keys that are exposed. And if you like to play into it, it's effortless. But so is the RM3. So the only difference between these two, besides this Grand Feel being just a little bit easier, you almost can't even notice it, is you have the longest key sticks in the industry. It's an inch longer. You line up the pivot points again, and you can see that it's longer. So that's pretty much it. And I'll tell you, after playing on these Kawai Actions, I just can't see playing anything else. Now, as you know, if you watch my previous videos, I have a Nord Stage 2, which I love the way it sounds. The action isn't that great. I mean, it'll do, but compared to the Kawai Actions, oh my God, I feel like I'm sitting there at $150,000 to $200,000 concert grand piano. And isn't that what it's all about? The action. The interaction between your fingers and that machine is the keyboard action. The more control you have over that, the better your piece is going to sound. And as subtle a difference as there is between the RM3 and the Grand Feel, there is a difference. You probably won't notice it unless you're really a professional and you're highly into classical or jazz or any other kind of genre where you play into that key. So I hope this has helped explain the difference between these two piano actions in their digital pianos. Piano Man Chuck, peace out. Thanks for watching.